Your mind will never stop. You have been thinking about the same issue for hours, maybe even for days, and still you have not found the answer. You have replayed the conversation, you have tried to analyze what went wrong, you have even imagined the worst case scenario. And at some point, you begin to wonder if you are thinking, if you're actually solving problem, or you are just torturing yourself. Let me tell you the truth. You are just ruminating. And ruminating is not problem solving. It is not thinking. It is just a loop. Your mind keep deceiving you that if you think about it one more time, you are going to figure it out. But you are not figuring anything out. You are not solving any problem. Instead, you are creating more problems. Thankfully, rumination is not something you are stuck with. It is a habit you can break. And in this video, I will show you 12 techniques that you can use to break out of the rumination trap at any time. All these techniques are research backed. The first one is to schedule your rumination. This might sound very absurd, but it is one of the most effective ways to help with rumination. So you can have like a 15-minute scheduled worry time every single day. Maybe from 4 p.m. to 4:15, I'm going to spend it thinking about all the things that are wrong. What happens most times is that what you are worrying about by 10 a.m. that you have now postponed to worry about in 4 p.m. By the time it's 4 p.m., the urgency has gone. And even if there's still some form of urgency and you still have to worry about it, now you have contained it. You have kept it within a limited time instead of it taking over your entire day and you end up doing nothing, just worrying all through the day. The more you practice this, you are teaching your brain that rumination is not an emergency. It is something that can wait. And once it can wait, it has lost its grip on you. The second technique is to use the 3-minute rule. The 3-minute rule is that if you have been thinking about something for more than 3 minutes without any new information, you are not thinking, you are just ruminating. Just ask yourself, have I been thinking about this for more than 3 minutes? And in the past 3 minutes, what new information about the situation have I gotten? If you have not gotten anything, then you are ruminating. This awareness helps you a lot because once you realize that you are just rehashing the same point, asking the same questions without getting any answer, and just going over conversations again and again, then everything begins to look productive. Now you are in awareness that, okay, this is what is happening, and that gives you more power to stop it and not continue in that trap. The third technique is to label rumination as a behavior and not insight. Rumination is a habit, just like biting your fingernails. I do that a lot. If you can see my nails, many of them are short. But never in my life have I ever thought that I am doing something productive. I know that this is just a habit that is not helping me in any way. And I don't deceive myself that it's something beneficial to me. So when you can look at rumination that way, that it's just a habit that I'm used to, it is something I've done over and over again. It is not about problem solving. It is not about advancing my life. It is not about getting to the root of issues, and it's just something that I'm used to. It's something I do to pass out time, even without thinking about it. This will reduce the authority that rumination has over you. And in addition to that, instead of asking yourself every time you're thinking about it that, is this thought I'm having true? You should ask, is this thought I'm having moving me forward? Is it productive? Because something can be true. Now, the things you think about, most times they are true, but they are not productive. So something can be true without being productive. And that is what is happening in the case of rumination. The fourth technique to end rumination is to move your body. Now we are getting into more hands-on and practical techniques. Rumination has a positive correlation with physical stillness. Whenever you are stuck in your mind, you are most likely stuck in your body too. So if you want to break the loop in your mind, you break the loop in your body. Whenever you start moving your body, your mind will have to readjust and focus on the thing you are now doing with your physical body, and that to break the loop of rumination. So if you have been trying to just calm yourself down and it is not working, move into doing an activity. Go and wash the dishes. Or if washing the dishes is something passive that you now use your memory, your muscle memory to just do, move into a more active activity like writing, and that will pull you out of the abstract space that you are in and bring you back to the present moment. So with this technique, you are not trying to think your way out of rumination. You are literally moving out of rumination. The fifth technique is a grounding technique, and it is known as the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. So how you practice this is that you look around your environment and you try to mention 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. So for instance, if I want to practice that here now, 5 things I can see. I can see my light, I can see my laptop, I can see the mic, I can see my tripod stand, I can see the camera. That's 5 things I can see. 4 things I can touch. I can touch my shirt, if that counts. I can touch the light. I can touch the wall around me. I can touch this nylon that is close to me for what reason I don't know. And I can touch my phone by my side. 3 things I can hear. I can hear the sound of the fan. I can hear the sound of the inverter. I can hear the sound of a generator of my neighbor from outside. 2 things I can smell.
A few moments later.
I can smell my perfume and I can smell heat. I can smell heat around me. And 1 thing I can taste, maybe I can taste my lip gloss. By doing this, you will notice that you are forcing your attention to see things on the outside. And you are not just stuck within the loop that is in your head. And although this is very subtle, you're also telling yourself that these things around me are the things that are real, and what is in my head is not real. The 6th technique is to do the smallest possible action. Now, this especially works when you are ruminating about something that you need to fix. Maybe your career is stuck and you have been thinking about it for the past 1 week. Nothing works. I've tried and tried and tried, nothing works. So instead of just continuing in that spiral, you ask yourself that what is the smallest action I can take towards the direction? You're not trying to fix your entire career. Maybe the action that's coming to your mind is to open a LinkedIn account. And if after you open this new LinkedIn account, you now have new sets of things to ruminate about, then from those sets of things, you pick what is the one smallest action that I can take, and you keep moving in that direction. The 7th technique is to write down your rumination until it becomes very boring. And this is not just your regular journaling, although journaling helps, but you want to take it a step further. That when you are writing down the things in your mind, you write it with excruciating details and you commit to it for the next 30 minutes. That every single thought that's coming to your mind, you write it down. All the things you are worried about, you write it down. You write what you are worried about in the future, what you are worried about in the past, what is making you worried now, why you think that worry is productive, just anything that's coming to your mind, write it as much as you can. The way this is going to help you is that normally rumination does not have an end. Like you just keep rehearsing the same conversations over and over again. But when you are trying to write it down, every writing has a beginning and has an end. So now that you have taken all your thoughts and all your worries from the beginning to the end, when you get to the end, it feels like this thing has ended. And there's just this sense of completion that you have, that it no longer makes sense for you to just start afresh because you have gotten to the end of the conversation. And at some point, it's even going to become very boring to you. Like if you are trying to stick to writing what you're worried about for the next 30 minutes, like you just feel this is not productive. Let's move on to something else. You will just see the uselessness of the entire conversation to start with, and that will save you at that moment. The 8th technique is to talk to someone, no matter how briefly it is. When you try to talk to someone, your brain switches into interactive mode, and interactive mode cannot coexist with rumination. Rumination is not interaction, it's just running round and round. This does not have to be a serious conversation. Just talking to someone about anything. If you're in your workplace, you can just walk up to the person in the next desk and ask them, how was your weekend? Something as simple as possible. Or if you're alone at home, you can pick up your phone and talk to someone. If you can even try to order something from a store and call the person that works at the store, I want to order this and this and this. You're just going to have a little bit of conversation. The presence of other people will always pull you out of your mind and bring you into the present moment. And that is the goal of ending every cycle of rumination. The 9th technique is open monitoring of your thoughts. Now, we are not trying to clear your mind. This is in opposition to the standard meditation that everybody does. So we have discovered that meditation takes time to learn, and most people do not get it. When they are trying to make their mind clear, they just end up ruminating because where you're not thinking about anything. You have a field day to keep thinking about the things you don't want to think about. So what you can do instead is to allow the thoughts in your mind begin to pay attention. More like you are trying to label your feelings, but this time around you're labeling your thoughts. So when I'm thinking about this, okay, this is planning, you give it a label. When you're thinking about something else, no, this is rumination, you give it something else. When that thought is coming to your mind, this is remembering, give it a label. When that thing is flowing through your mind, this is worry, give it a label. The goal of this one is not even to stop thinking in any way. It's just for you to train yourself to see rumination as an event. Now, when you can pay attention to, okay, there was a time where I planned, there was a time where I ruminated, there was a time where I worried, there's just this sense of consciousness that this is something different and this is not just all thinking. If you see every thought that passed through your mind as just thinking, then you will not know where to draw the line. But now that you are aware that this event can be different and you do that through practicing naming the thoughts, then you are more empowered to stop rumination when the event is happening. The 10th technique is called attention training technique, ATT. Here is how it works. You go to a park or you go to a place that has a bit of activity going on, and for about 10 to 15 minutes, you try to pay attention to as many sounds as you can hear. Probably if it's in a park, there will be a car passing, you hear the sound of the car. If the car honks, you hear the sound of the honk. If there are children shouting, you pay attention to children shouting. If someone is crying, you pay attention to the person crying. If someone is talking, you pay attention to people talking, and just keep shifting that, okay, I can hear this, so what next can I hear? I can hear this, what next can I hear? I can hear this, what next can I hear? And you just keep going till you cannot hear anything new again. What you are doing at this moment is that you are training your attention, you are training your ability to focus your attention on what you want to, which is something that does not happen with rumination. With rumination, you are not focusing your attention, it's just going in the spiral, and many times you are not really in control of what is happening. But once your muscle is being trained by constantly doing the ATT, then you can then apply that same skill when it comes to rumination. Because I've chosen at several points to choose what I pay attention to in my environment, even within my mind, I can choose not to pay attention to the thoughts that keep running and focus on something else, the work that is in front of me, or the next task that I need to do for the next day. The 11th technique is to reverse the rumination. Now, this time around, we are not trying to stop you from thinking. You will still continue thinking, you will still continue ruminating. But instead of ruminating about the negative things and the worst case scenario, you are going to begin to ruminate about the positive things. So, if you had a fight with someone and it looks as if you will lose your job, and within your mind you're just trying to justify how it is not your fault, how you might lose your job, what you are going to see when you finally lose your job, you turn it to the other end, and then to think about how you are going to get a promotion, how things are going to go well, how you have gotten better at speaking, and you just ruminate about positive things. Or let me say, ruminate about the positive outcomes you will like to see in your life, not the negative outcomes that you're afraid might happen. This is not what some people might call toxic positivity, like you're always thinking good even when things are going bad. But it's just paying attention to the fact that this thing I'm doing is already negative, this thing I'm doing is already not helping me. So since the loop is already there, how about I use the loop to make myself feel happy? How about I use the loop to give myself some sense of hope for the future? And that's another way of helping rumination. The 12th and the last technique is a bit of a nerdy one, but it works as well. So this time around, you are going to track your rumination like you are tracking a data, and it's not just a one day thing. So maybe you have a rumination book, and what you are writing in that book is not a diary. It's like, today I ruminated about this. I ruminated about this for 15 minutes. This was what sparked the rumination. This was how the rumination ended. You just write it down and you leave it here. You keep doing it every single day. Every time you ruminate, you are going to log it down. And after 2 or 3 weeks, you go and open your rumination log and just pay attention to the patterns of how things have been going. So these were the things I ruminated about all through last week. This was how long it ended. These were the things that triggered it. When it ended, this was how and why it ended. And you are just going to notice the pattern of pointlessness. And you have to actually try this for it to work. You cannot just pay attention in your mind and say, okay, I know rumination is pointless, so I'm going to stop. But when you have it written down like a log, when you're tracking it like data, and you can see it for yourself that for the past 2 weeks, I have been ruminating about the same thing. It is being triggered by the same thing and always ends in the same way. Nothing bad happened. I made no progress. At some point, you will just begin to have some level of detest for rumination, coupled with the other techniques that we have discussed all through this video. Is going to greatly help you. Many times when people watch videos on rumination on YouTube, they don't like the fact that they are ruminating. So they begin to ruminate about the fact that they are ruminating and the loop does not end. So don't think about this for too long. Just go through this video again and pick the skill, pick the technique that you think you want to practice. Pick one or two and practice them. If you found this video helpful, I want you to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel to see more videos like this.